Let's move on and introduce our special guest, Ed Monk. I'm so grateful that he's taking the time to speak with us tonight, guys, because he's going to be talking about active shooter threats, specifically in churches and schools. And he has such valuable information to offer all of us. If you are called to be a defender of life and are willing to stand in the gap between evil and your fellow man, this presentation tonight is so important. And because it's so hard for many to even think about something like this, but the honest truth is that the only way that we can counter this is to understand it better and be willing to be honest about our own abilities and skills in order to make the best decisions in the moment. So Ed is the co-owner and instructor at Last Resort Firearms Training in Whitehall, Arkansas. He's been researching, writing, and providing training to schools, churches, and law enforcement on active shooter threats for over a decade. He has experience as a police officer, a school teacher, a firearms trainer, and an Army officer. So Ed has a lot to offer us tonight, and we're so thankful that he has decided to join us. So Ed, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So we had some technical difficulties before the show, so we're going to see if we can get Ed's presentation to come up here. So hang on just a second, and I am going to see if I can pull it up really quickly. Of course, I saved it in a special place, so we'll see how that goes. If Adam has to sing in the meantime, we'll assign him to that role.
Please, God, no.
It says it's uploading.
Evening, Ed.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good evening. Hey, while she's doing that, can you give us your website address or where we can find you online?
Yeah, don't have a website. I'm not that high speed yet. We have a Facebook page. If you just search Facebook for Last Resort Firearms Training, you'll find us. And then my email is very simple. My name, Ed Monk, EDMONK at AOL.com. And then my cell is 870-273-1113. That's so you can call or text that number.
I think I did it, guys.
I will make sure we get your Facebook site up here.
I'm sorry. I got really excited about that. There's nothing worse than technical difficulties. So when things work, I get excited. Okay. So Ed, you're just going to have to tell me when to go to the next slide. Okay. And I'm sorry, my logo is over the top of it. I think I can take that off of there.
All right. Are we ready to begin it?
Yes, sir. Is there anything before we do that, though? Is there anything that I left out in your background? Could you maybe go into more detail about your background, about why you're one of the foremost experts in the field? I think that might be good to talk about. I
don't know about that, but I think one of the things is I got into this for personal reasons. So I don't work for a company. I don't have to push the company's whatever the company's plan is. A lot of the people that give presentations in law enforcement and education, other places, they inherited the job. So they inherited slides made by somebody else, maybe 3 or 4 people ago. And all they're doing is showing slides that they've heard somebody else. All my stuff I've created myself, and I did it for personal reasons. I got into this a little bit from my experience in the Army, but then when I left the Army, I got into teaching. And I was told by people with master's degrees and PhDs that if an active shooter came in the school where I was a teacher, that my job as the authority figure, as the adult, was to keep all my kids in my room as the shooting and the screaming got closer and closer and closer, not to let them run, not to let them go out the window, but to hold them in the room and wait until the shooter got there to kill them. And it just made absolutely no sense to me. But of course, sometimes things that don't make sense, it's because you don't understand all the parameters. You don't understand all the restrictions and all the backstory. So that's why I got into it, strictly to find out, it seems so obvious that we're doing the exact wrong thing. Yeah. So that's why I started looking into it. So everything I've been doing the last 15 years is studying this from the perspectives of my history. And when I first got into it, I didn't think my military background really had anything to play with it, but it actually does. in how a military officer is trained to look at a potential threat, study it, define it, and then come up with the best possible fighting plan to defeat that enemy as quickly as possible with the fewest amount of casualties. That's the exact methodology we should be bringing to this, but no, we're not.